Welcome to Nourishing the Mother, an inspired conversation space between Bridget Wood and Julie Tenner on the journey of motherhood through the common thread of parenting, relationship, and sexuality as a path to consciousness.
We keep our conversations honest, our experiences real, and our philosophies exploratory. We believe that in order to raise incredible humans, we first have to raise ourselves. We know that in order to rock the family, you've got to nourish the mother. If you are here, you care about paving a path of conscious and intentional motherhood, connected with yourself and your gifts, and also illuminating your children in theirs so we may raise more whole humans who can impact this world in a more humane way.
If you desire to integrate your learnings practically and supportively, head on over to bridgetwood.life or julietenner.love to go deeper. And for all live-streamed pre-release podcasts and all our free content, head over to our free Facebook group, Nourishing the Mother with Bridget Wood and Julie Tenner. We are Julie Tenner and Bridget Wood, and we are so grateful you're here.
Hello and welcome to Nourishing the Mother. I'm Bridget Wood.
And I'm Julie Tenner. And today's podcast is busting your FOMO on the perfect family holiday. And this comes after maybe you're on the socials and you saw my Instagram perfect family holiday.
I'm giggling because you and I over the years have had various conversations about this very thing. And at one point in the time, during when you're away, I texted you. I think I said, "How's your amazing holiday?" And you were like, "Yeah, all of it, all the things." Yeah. I don't know what you exactly said.
I think I said something like, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's exquisitely divine and exquisitely painful.
Yeah. And then I sent you the tune of this Crowded House song, Everywhere You Go, You Always Take the Weather With You, which is just such a powerful reminder, that you can't escape your stuff.
Yeah.
You just take it on the road with you.
It's true.
But with holidays, it can be really easy to just show the shininess, or for us as the voyeur watching someone else on holiday to look at this the beautiful vistas and the incredible new experiences and the depth of connection and just the beautiful experience of leisure without duty and routine, and see someone experiencing all that and then turn around, put our phone down, walk back into our life and feel dejected. And so our invitation with this podcast is to bust that FOMO with some reality checks, isn't it, Jules?
Yes, it is. And because last time we did this topic was after you had gone to Bali, and that podcast was, what was that called again? It just flew out of my head. But it was around this concept. So I would go back and listen to that.
It was in 2017, so it was a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, but it was great because it was essentially saying the same thing, is that it was something like you can't escape yourself. Yeah. That you take yourself and all of your family dynamics on holiday with you. There is no holiday from yourself. No. There is no holiday from your family dynamics. You're all the same humans. Yeah, on holiday.
Picked up and put in a new area.
Right. And what I want to say to that is we have the illusion that holidays mean no structure, no routine, no demand, pleasure-centric experiences. But my experience of family holidays is that they are infinitely harder than living my life. Because when I'm living my life, I have my comfort and all of the things that create my comfort, the shops I go to, the places I buy that product, the way that I routine these things, all of the appliances and all of the things and the herbs and the whatever I want at the touch of my fingers, an environment that I have created, that I am in control of, and that everyone toes the line of within my family of influence, that I am dominion over this. You go on holiday, you've got none of that shit. You're not in your environment. You are no longer in control. You do not have your regular shops, places that you buy, way that you do things, all of the things that you would normally have that create safety and security and control in your life. You have none of those things on holiday, and you're still trying to do you and your life and kids.
Yeah, and the thing is, right, that's the shit we fucking love when we're 20-something and we're just traveling on our own or with a partner. Yeah. Right? Or with a bunch of friends, because really you don't have that many other people to be responsible for. It's actually exciting that you have to challenge yourself like that and rub up against the resistance that comes without those comforts. But when you do that as a mother with other humans you are responsible for who are also going through those experiences, tell us about that.
Well, I mean, there's so many conversations that I want to have here. So let's just start with this holiday for us is 3 years in the making. So as Bridget knows, when my personal business first kind of took off was, well, probably now 4 years ago. And my whole vision with this business was I just want to earn enough that we can go on a holiday, because we haven't been on a holiday since Heath and Jade were like 2 and 3. And they're now age nearly 15 and 16. This is a really long time with no holiday. I'm watching all of these people have magic holidays, and me was 100% in FOMO. I was 100% sure that I was missing out and my children were missing out, and I craved this holiday. So my whole focus originally with my business was I just want to earn enough that we can do a relatively local, what I thought then would be a cheap holiday. So within Australia, we've never traveled the Northern Territory. We would love to travel the Northern. I've never been in my whole life. That'd be great. So we booked this holiday in 2019 for 2020, not knowing, of course, that COVID was going to happen. So there's all of this build up and we're so excited, and it's the only holiday that we ever had. And then COVID happens and we have to cancel the whole thing. It was devastating to our children. I could kind of manage it, but it was a lot of other emotions to handle. We rebook it for the next year in 2021. COVID happens again.
Yeah, but hang on, can we talk about this? Because actually you were packed and ready to go, right? Like yeah. So it was like you right up until the wire.
Yes.
And then I think we locked down again or something happened.
Yes. So that was in 2020. So then in 2021, we were literally ready to go. And it was the last 24 hours. It's the last 24 hours. And I'm ringing the Northern Territory COVID government line, and I'm like, what if I have an address and I go and hire an Airbnb in the country and I don't have a Melbourne Metro address? What about then? If I'm like regional Victoria instead of Metro Victoria, could I go? Can I cross your border?
Yes.
And they're like, no, if you're from Victoria, you're practically a leper. So it was the last 24 hours. And Nick was even like, fuck it, Jules, we're just going to drive. Which, if you don't know the expanse of Australia, it's like fucking days of driving.
Thousands and thousands upon
kilometers. So it was literally the last 24 hours and we pulled the pin. So in the scheme of all of this, in the time of from when we first booked our RV, which is like a Winnebago motorhome style holiday, to now in 2021 even, so that 12 months of COVID, the price of domestic travel and of motorhome travel doubled. In fact, by 2021, it had tripled. So when I first booked that 3-week motorhome in 2019, it was going to be $5,000. By the time it rolled around to 2021, it was 12 to 13 grand.
Wow. For
a motorhome. So we had agonized over whether we were going to do it or not anyway. And so what we had done was decided that we would, because they wouldn't give us a time match. It was just a money match of our money that was sitting in the freaking clouds, as so many people's were. The airlines had our money. The motorhomes had our money. We didn't have our money. It was out there in credits. So anyway, that happened and we had to cancel it again. And then we thought, okay, well, it's Nick's 50th in December. So we'll use that money and we'll transfer it because it had gone up so much in price. We'll transfer our 3-week NT holiday into a 10-day New Zealand holiday, and we'll just use, at least we can use the credit and at least we can get to New Zealand because at that point in time, the borders were open.
I forgot about this. God, you did that too. Oh,
we did that too. So in the meantime, we booked everything and everywhere. Then we've had to cancel everything and get refunds back from everyone, which is more of a nightmare than booking it to begin with. We've already done this twice. We do it again a third time for New Zealand. And then Melbourne goes into lockdown again. And the borders to New Zealand close.
You've got passports. You've especially got
all of it. Yep. Ordered passports, whole thing. So it gets cancelled again. This time we've got more money because we put more money into flights to get everybody over to New Zealand, and it's just ridiculous. And so then we were even like, do we even bother booking? This just feels cursed. And we had booked originally for the Northern Territory for June, July, which is supposed to be the best time to go. And I was like, we are not, bad juju for us, June, July. We are booking for September. For 2022. And I spent the whole time going, we're probably not going. I literally would say to even my kids, don't you get excited. We're probably not going. No, this is really where I was at.
Oh, chills.
I'd go a bit excited. I'm like, don't get too excited. It might get cancelled. This is me in the lead up to our holidays. I'd have friends in the week we were going, are you so excited now? I'm like, no. I will be excited when I get off at Alice Springs Airport and I'm out those fucking doors and nobody can stop me, then I'll be excited. And up until that point in time, when there's all these security checks and places and spaces that if you're a Melbourneite, you get locked out of, no, not excited. Anyway, so just so everyone knows, the build up for this holiday was like 3 years already of balancing out the FOMO. So by the time I even get here, there's actually no shine left on this holiday.
Yeah.
I'm actually walking onto this plane going, well, maybe.
Yeah.
We could still get stopped. I don't know. Like this time we went, I had Pinterest boards with all of our menus. This time I was like, who fucking knows? I don't even, we'll work it out when we're there. It's like,
it's kind of
totally different.
You didn't even get to enjoy that build up of like, because, you know, 50% of the joy of a holiday is anticipating the holiday.
Oh, no, I was the stomper of the joy of the holiday. I was like, don't you even get excited. We're probably not going, you know. Anyway, so that's the back end of the holiday already. So by the time we get there, I've said to my kids, actually, even as we're packing, I'm already planning for worst case scenario. So I've spread resources across everybody's bags so that no one's bag has any one thing in it. They've all got a separate bag for their clothes. And I'm saying to them, I want you to pack a spare something in your travel on backpack. we're going to roll up 24 hours worth of clothes just in case Qantas loses your bags. I didn't really think that was going to happen. But here we are. Alice Springs Airport. There's one flight a day into this place, one flight a day. And we've got 5 of our 6 bags and we're waiting and the belt stops.
The belt of doom. It just
stops. And we literally all looked at each other and went, what? And then we looked around and there's about 4 other people looking at everyone else going, what? And then I'm like, do you have your bags? And they're like, do you? And I'm like, no. So now there's this group of people off of this plane who don't have bags. And it's my son's bag. So I was thinking, oh my God, already worst case scenario has happened and we haven't even walked out of the airport yet. That's okay. We've got 24 hours worth of bags. You know, we get on there, we're filling out their forms, we're and doing all of the things. And in my haste to, because we had taken on jackets and whatever in Melbourne, and of course we get there and it's boiling hot. So as people's bags are coming off, I'm ripping off the tags and I'm undoing the locks and I'm putting everybody's jackets in the bags for easy transport for the cab that we've got to get into town. So by the time we realize there's a bag missing, I don't have the receipt things that have the bag numbers because I've ripped them off and thrown them in the bin as I've worked my way through everybody's bags.
Oh, no.
So I don't even have a tracking number on the bag that somehow is lost in Qantas's ether.
Oh, geez.
So it was just like another insult to injury where my nervous system was already wired. Now it's wired more. They're probably going to lose it. I give them a bag description. And what's in the bag. And what's in the bag is my son's clothes. So it's hilarious because out of everyone, my son cares the most about his appearance. And he spends all of his money, bless his cotton socks, his value system is on the drip. the clothes. And he has size 15 feet. So to get size 15 feet, you have to import those fuckers from the US. So Heath's shoes, any shoe, is rarely under $300. So $300 to $400 is a pair of shoes for my son because his feet are so huge. So I'm thinking, what's in that bag? And I'm thinking, come on now. Out of anybody's bags.
Why do we have to that one?
It could have been anyone else's, wouldn't be filled with Kmart shit.
Yeah.
His bag, great.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Luckily, Nick had packed 2 pairs of size, they're the same size shoe, 2 pairs of size 15 thongs because Nick was preparing for a thong blowout. So he has a pair of thongs at least because all he had was runners and it's like 40 degrees. So he has those. He's got a T-shirt and a change of undies and those things to get through 24 hours. He doesn't have toiletries, whatever. We fill out the forms and Qantas goes, well, here's your overnight bag. So they give you a pair of pajamas and they give you a toiletries bag as a way of saying sorry. And we were like, what is happening? We don't even know if this bag's coming back. We're leaving at 9 a.m. the next morning to Uluru. So we're in Alice Springs. We've got to leave. It's like 5-hour drive. 6-hour drive. So we're trying to work out, what do we do if they find the bag? What do we do if we don't find the bag? So now our trip has been hijacked by, instead of just dropping all of our bags off at the hotel room, now we've got to make it into town to make it into Kmart before Kmart closes so we can at least get him a pair of swimmers and some T-shirts and some undies and some, so now we're in Kmart in the middle of Alice Springs shopping for my son. We called him K-Drip, which was our nickname for the rest of the holiday. He was not a fan at all. And Jade and I thought it was hilarious. So K-Drip's rocking around, Alice Springs. The whole thing was ridiculous. So we're in the hotel room. We think, okay, surely this is the thing that's going to be the worst parts of the whole holiday. Well, thank God we've got it out of the way, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
It's done. Worst things happened. My nervous system is super activated because I've also just gone through a flight and all of the transfers and all of the things. My nervous system is already heightened. So already as a mum, you're holding all of that and walking everybody through it, and everybody's hungry and you've got to get them fed and into a new bed and sort out so it's already a lot of nervous system activation. So I can recognize that I'm flipping. And so I'm just constantly reminding myself to breathe. So our plan was, in this hotel room, we could check out at 11 a.m. was on our sheet, 11 a.m. checkout. We had organised to pick our motorhome up at 9 a.m. So Nick and my plan was, we'll leave the kids, all 4 of them, in a room together, just like babysitting, like we would at home. We're going to catch a cab, go pick up the RV, and we'll be back to pick everyone up, and then we'll start our holiday via a trip to the supermarket. So that's our plan. We go to the RV place and it's COVID and they don't have cleaners and our RV is not ready. And I'm thinking, she's like, it's probably only going to be an hour. And I'm like, okay, an hour, 10 a.m., that's fine. I can still get back to my kids we're still going to be okay to get out of the hotel and, they're going to be okay. So we ring the kids, and we've only got like 3 bars on 3G or something. Like the reception is fairly rubbish anyway. So I say to her, okay, well, we could fill in this time and go and get some shopping, Nick. And he's like, yeah. And the lady goes, look, for the inconvenience, I'll give you, she gives us his other motorhome to borrow so that we can drive into town instead of getting a cab. Now, with a motorhome in Alice Springs, you can't park it in the town centre. You have to park it on the outskirts of the town centre because it doesn't fit. And that's apparently where the most accidents happen. So they don't allow you. It's part of their policy. But okay, we'll park the car. I mean, how much does a bloody supermarket trip take you? Maybe 45 minutes. We're thinking we're going to be okay. So we park the motorhome, we walk into Woolworths. And of course, now I'm sitting here going, oh, fuck, I'm here. Okay, we're not going to be near a supermarket for another 6 days. I've got to plan all breakfast, lunch, dinners, snacks on the fly.
Because you gave up on your Pinterest boards.
That's right. That's right. And I didn't know what we were going to be able to get in Alice Springs anyway.
Yeah.
And I'd had this mini argument with Nick before we left where I wanted to buy some of those, those Brita jug filters for water. I'm really water sensitive. And so are my kids because they've grown up on good water, filtered water.
You notice the difference of tap water versus...
I can't drink normal tap water. And Nick's like, oh, we're not packing more shit. There was this whole thing. He was like, we're packing less. And I'm like, I'm going to pack the things that we know we're not going to get. And he's like, it's Safeway, like it's Woolworths. We're going to be able to get it. Because we get there, no fucking filters. So I'm in Safeway going, look, I told you I should have bought the water jugs. And he's like, well, they're not here. I'm like, well, and neither is the good water.
And you're huffing and stomping around.
Yes. So we've had to make do with whatever water we can get. So we've now got 2 trolleys and the supermarket is packed. It is like crazy town, like the most busy supermarket with these, you know, like 4 or 5 deep people trolleys just to get through the checkout. I think because in the Northern Territory, there's so few shopping centres, right? So there's Woolworths and Alice Springs, and then there isn't another Woolworths to get to like Catherine, which is thousands and thousands and thousands of kilometres, right? So it's crazy busy. We're under pressure. I'm trying to organise breakfast, lunch, dinner that I can fit into an RV, into essentially like a bar fridge. That's the only refrigeration that we have. And I'm trying to work out all of the meals on the fly. We don't have the water jugs, which has just set me off a little bit more because now I'm dealing with shit water and what am I going to do about, you know. So we pile these 2 trolleys. I've got all the groceries in my trolley. Nick's got probably 100 kilos of the 10-litre water, you know, things in his trolley. And we line up at the checkout. So we're in this checkout that is probably, I said 3 or 4, but it was actually probably 4 or 5 because we had to be careful of not taking up the aisle and people to get through. And the checkout is excruciatingly slow. It is so slow. And now it's 10 o'clock. And all of a sudden I look at my phone and my son has rung my phone about 4 times. And I look at it because the cleaning staff are knocking on the door when my children are on their own, telling them that they need to get out.
Oh my God.
And here I am with the fucking motorhome on the other side of town with 2 trolley loads of shopping that I can't ditch in a bloody shopping aisle that I've been queuing in for probably 20 minutes to get towards the checkout.
Oh my God.
And my son with my kids in the room is in a high pressure situation with the hotel staff telling him they're supposed to be checked out.
Oh no.
So Nick and I start trying to Google the reception place. We're trying to ring reception. Every number we find on Google doesn't send us through. It's just I'm like, maybe it's our reception. Leave me with the 2 trolleys. He goes outside to ring. Still, we can't get through. So now we're ringing back to my son going, I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry. We're stuck here. We've got to get through here. We'll get to you as soon as we can. Our motorhome's still not ready. You have to go to reception and say, I need you to ring mum and dad because we can't ring the hotel. You're going to have to get the hotel to ring us. Which is for my son, is a really big deal because he doesn't normally have that level of confidence for dealing with high pressure other people's situations.
Or like confrontation.
Right, exactly. So to his credit, he does that. So he goes to reception, he has the talk with reception and he comes back and he texts us and he said, reception have said to me, as long as you are back and have us out by 11, that's okay. And I'm thinking, fuck. So my mum, I am like nearly having an out of body.
This is like Amazing Race shit right now.
Right. This is exactly how it feels in my body. We finally get all of the things packed. We've got the 2 trolleys. Nick and I are like, right, go. So we both start to head out with our trolleys. Like you can imagine, he's 6'6", I'm 6'1". We are striding the fucking shit out of these trolleys to get to the other side of town. And all of a sudden, the trolley stops and the wheels lock.
Oh my God. You've got to be kidding.
There's an invisible line where trolleys lock, so you can't take them out of a certain vicinity. I didn't know about this.
Yes. Oh no.
I still haven't worked that out at this point in time. At this point in time, I'm thinking there's still something not right because somehow miraculously I had chosen a trolley that didn't have a locking system on it, whereas Nick's 100 kilos of water trolley had a locking system on it. So where his trolley has stopped, there's this other trolley discarded and turned over on its side. And I'm like, what do you want to do? We could transfer all of the shopping out, put the water in, put the shopping back on, and we could go in my trolley. And he's like, no, I'll transfer it into this trolley and we'll go. So he transfers all of the 100 kilos of water into the other trolley. Off we go. This fucking trolley has a locked wheel, which is exactly why it was discarded where it was. Again, we haven't worked this out just yet. So Nick trying to push this fucking trolley with the lock on it, he's like, the fucking main street of Alice Springs, which has one of those footpaths that's slightly on an angle. You know, when you have a footpath on an angle and you're trying to balance the trolley to keep it upright on the bloody footpath so it doesn't slide onto the road. So I've got this loaded trolley with food. He's got the 100 kilos of water with the locked wheel. It's hot. Oh, no. So we're like two people, 6'1", 6'6", through the main town. It's sheer will. It is sheer will. And Nick is sweating like it's like a workout. He's now dripping with sweat. And I'm looking back at him going, what do you want to do? Do you want to stop and I'll go and we'll like do trips? And he's like, fucking no, because it's 10:30. We got to get the kids. Just go. You know, so I'm trying to balance all of as much as I can in this trolley. He's going through my town. Everybody is looking at us. And at some point, that gap is obviously starting to get bigger. And I turn around and there's Nick, bless his cotton socks, just like working so fucking hard to get this trolley just to get where we need it to go. And he turns around, he digs and grabs the keys out of his pocket and he looks at me, he goes, just take the keys and go. And I'm like, okay, because it's now fucking 5 to 11 and we're still in the main street. I'm like, so in my little world, right, this is perception, I'm like, oh my God. I mean, he's just like, save my woman and my kids, just take the keys and go. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. You know, so I take the keys and I'm running with this trolley of food because I've got to get to my kids through this town centre, leaving my husband in the dust with the trolley that's making all the fucking noise that he can't move. And I get to the van and I pile in all the shopping. Just as he arrives, we throw it in, we ditch the fucking trolleys where they are, and we get to the hotel. And I'm like, it's okay. Just drop me. I'll sort the kids. We'll wait on the nature strip. You just take the car back and get the fucking RV. And he's like, okay. So he drops me off. I run in. The bloody cleaning staff are literally standing outside of the door. I'm throwing bags out of the fucking door. Just so that I'm yelling, you know, instructions at my kids on where they need to be because we've dumped all of the shopping on the side of the fucking road. So we've got to make camp there. I mean, it was just off tap ridiculous. Nick's version of events of, you know, I'm like retelling as we're sitting here and we're waiting for Nick to come back with the motorhome. I'm retelling this story to my kids, you know, take the keys and go. Like it was this big romantic, you know, Titanic moment because that was how I'd experienced it, which my kids just were riveted by. They just thought it was the most fantastic story they'd ever heard in their whole life. You know, they're laughing and they're strung on the edge of every moment. And then finally Dad gets back and Jade goes, oh my God, Dad, take the keys and go. And he looks at her like, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, you know, Mum's just told us the story about how you just saved woman and child. Like, just take the keys and go. You're this lost love. And he's like, well, she was already going. I figured she might as well get there first. So I'm like, oh, the music tale, the romance. I was just like living this experience. And anyway, so that became a joke that we had for the rest of the trip. So there's that. So I don't know if you can imagine how fucking activated my nervous system was, but it was next level. So Nick gets the motorhome. We're now behind schedule. It's now like 30 or something. I've got to pack this motorhome. I'm throwing shit in it just to get on the road because we've got a long drive to get to where we're staying in Uluru. So about halfway between Alice Springs and Uluru, we pull over to get petrol at one of the service stations and we realise that this grill that covers the entire electrics of the motorhome has blown off somewhere in our journey.
Oh, great. And
we're thinking, oh, fuck, you know. So we don't have Heath's bag. We don't know if we're even getting it back. We don't have this bloody experience that we just had, the grill that's just blown off. And now I'm thinking it's plugging me into all my scarcity stuff because now what happens? Now are we on an insurance thing? Now we're paying excess. Now what are they, you know, like all of my stuff was like going gangbusters. And so that starts the trip. So I don't know if you can imagine how activated my nervous system was, but it was literally a practice to pull my nervous system back down again because I was just so activated that I literally remember being on that first part of that trip and saying to myself, Julie, is this how you're going to live this experience? Because if you continue on hitting up this pattern, because it's becoming a habit now, you either continue to keep activated and this is going to be your experience. You don't want to connect. Everything is stressful. Everything is hard. You're snappy at the kids, right? You can choose to stay here constricted. Or you need to do something about your fucking nervous system, and it's got nothing to do with the environment. So while Nick was driving, I literally just did meditation after meditation to re-regulate my nervous system and pull it down and pull it down and pull it down. And I would get these waves that would just hit me of anxiety. We haven't got heat bag. We don't know. We're probably never going to get it. What am I going to do? What's going to happen? And we ran into this talking to this bloody bus guy, and he was like, oh, they're going to charge you thousands for that blown off fucking cover thing because it's all in the fine print. Like, well,
of course, like, and you're just like, you've called that in, right? Like, your brain.
So all of it's activation.
Tell me this.
Right. So even as we're in exquisite, I mean, it really is exquisitely beautiful. I had no idea how extraordinarily beautiful this part of the world is. Like, it is just color on steroids. It is so beautiful. I felt like either I was going to be like torn apart by just absorbing beauty, or I couldn't possibly absorb it all. And what a shame that was. Like, it was just, there was so much beauty, and there was. And yes, there was fun and all of that shit, but also a lot of stress. I didn't have my normal foods. I didn't have normal cooking gear. We had to sort out sleeping. We were making and unmaking Lola and Gwen's bed every single day. We didn't, we had to work out what we were going to do in each and every moment. We're driving places that we'd never been before. We're having these experiences that are putting us totally outside of our comfort zone, and we're trying to take a crew with us. So it was incredibly nervous system activating. And so that first leg, we kind of did a loop initially from Alice Springs through to Uluru, the Olgas, Kings Canyon, and then back into Alice Springs before we headed up north again. That was our first 6 days. So in that time, we've got no cell reception. I don't know if we've got Heath's bag or not. I don't know what's going to happen with this grill or not. And I'm constantly needing to re-regulate my nervous system. And I can remember on our trip coming back into Alice Springs, I was sick of myself. I had had enough of how heightened my nervous system was. And again, I did drive as well, but when Nick was driving, I used it as meditation time. So I'm sitting in the car and I literally went, fuck, Julie, you are using all of your energy on manifesting and focusing on all of the shit that's fucking hard.
Yeah.
How about you use that energy to focus on what you want? So yeah, it's exactly what I need to do. So I sat in meditation and I pulled my nervous system energy way, 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 way down. And when I got there, I did a visualization of me and Heath's bag. I visualized Heath's bag and I put a golden thread between me and the bag. And slowly by slowly, minute by minute, like I was pulling on a rope, I pulled that golden thread of that bag towards me and towards me and towards me. And I'm thinking in ether and space and time, this bag finds me and it's getting closer towards me. And I was probably in this meditation for, 30 minutes or something. And then there was this moment in that meditation where I went, the bag in my visualization was right in front of me. And I went, no, the bag is here. It's here, like right here. And I came out of that meditation and we rocked up at the next station point, and where I had cell reception just for the time that we were there. And in drops a phone message from Qantas at the exact moment where I went, it's here. She had rung me saying, I have Heath's bag. We've found it.
That's so cool.
Right. This is 5 days since they lost his bag. So I ring her while we're there and we're like celebrating it. We've worked out our plan, right? We'll go back into Alice Springs and we'll pick it up. We just have to be back at a certain time, which even that was another race for the clock just to get there. So then I thought, okay, wow. In my mind, I'm like, I fucking manifested that. What else can I do? What about this grill? I need this to be simple, easy, effortless, no extra money, no additional challenge. So what I did was another visualization of how it would feel. I will send an email, goes to the company, easy, comes back, easy, gets repaired, easy. We're only in Alice Springs for 48 hours. And we leave on time and it's all fine. Now, there was no evidence to say that was what was going to happen. And yet somehow that's exactly what happened. Exactly as I had imagined it was exactly as it played out. An email arrived at the whatever the depot is that we had to pull into the same morning that we got there, even though I'd sent the email previously. We can't find the piece. We only have one piece in here. I can't find it. And it goes, okay, well, he goes, it's no problems. You can drive without it. You just have to worry about it when you get to Darwin. Don't use these things while you're driving. Okay. And it goes to head out and he literally comes out running after him. It's just appeared. I've just found it. I found this one piece, no problems, absolutely no worries, no extra money. We'll just change it right now and you're good to go. Exactly how it happened. So off we go again.
Just a brief break to the podcast to let you know what's happening in our world. So in bridgetwood.life, you will find Reimagining Motherhood, which is a beautiful membership space where you can come into and really be held and seen in community of other women who are really seeking to expand themselves in motherhood and really be at that intersection of where conscious parenting and the whole woman collide. So it's not either or, it is this beautiful melting pot of the two so that you can really dig deep and expand who you are on this mothering journey. And what about you, Jules?
Is Queen School. So Queen School is now an online course with 4 full modules that you are self-paced and work your way through, combined with 12 months of really stretching that out as I help you really integrate, embody, and move through the blocks so that you can literally become Queen School in your life. So Queen School is all about connection, pleasure, sensuality, magnetic communication, feminine energy, and embodiment with me over now a beautifully integrated 12-month experience. So you can find out more at julietenner.love. So that first week was the most brutal that the entire holiday was. It was brutal because I didn't know the space. So the space that we were living in I had just kind of panic put shit everywhere. Like you move into a house for the first time and you don't know where anything is. Yeah. So I was constantly hitting my shins on stuff. Everyone, including the kids, was constantly losing stuff. We had no rhythm, routine, pattern, way of doing things. There was loads of mistakes I made with the food. So all of it, and then there's all this additional stuff. So that first week was fucking brutal.
And so I imagine everybody was like really irritable, like with each other about like things not working. Or not so much.
Look, I mean, here is where I want to pepper it with. I do sometimes look at my 4 children and thank my younger self for all of the effort that I have put into parenting. Because largely they have extraordinary relationships.
Yeah.
So Heath and Lola are our biggest problem. They're each other's shadows. That's our number 1 and number 3. And they are polar images of each other's disowned parts.
Yeah.
So not so much Lola towards Heath, but Heath cannot let go of the grip of taking Lola down almost continuously. So that's our biggest parenting challenge. So, and it is at home here.
Yeah.
It was when we were away. So that didn't change. What changed was our capacity to hold it. So yes, they were still arguing. There was still sibling shit that went on. Same as there is at home, only you're on holidays and you don't have your normal creature comforts. You don't have your normal nervous system regulation. You don't have space. We're in one tiny room. So there's no space. There's no escape. There's nowhere else to be. There's no downtime, not really.
And there's no, like, if you imagine that some of you might disappear into a screen or like something else that you can distract yourself from, There's none of that either.
No, and there's no cell reception. So that first week was brutal. And then after that, so the next time we went to Alice Springs, okay, we knew the trolleys, we knew what we were going to do. We had a plan. We knew what we were doing with food by then. And by then I'd sorted out the camper van so that everything had a place. So weeks, it really got easier as the holiday went on. So we were in a motorhome for 3 weeks and it got easier. So by week 3, it was really shit easy being in it, but only because it had taken that long to learn the space.
Yeah.
And to start to gain some level of control and comfort over what was there. And there was other shit that went wrong here and there at different places. And Gwen got really ratty by week 2 because we were up so much later, because the sunsets were incredible and we're out doing things. It's so hot in the middle of the day. You do things early and you do things late. So for a kid who's normally in bed at 7, she wasn't going to bed till 9:30. So by the time that's caught up with her in week 2, she had this one day where she just cried about literally everything. So, and Nick and I were like, this is brutal. Like everything, everything. It wouldn't matter. She would drop her shoe and she would cry. I would say, you can't have that, I don't know, biscuit. She would cry. I would say, we'll go to the toilet. She would cry. It was everything.
Yeah.
So that part was brutal too. We had to really mitigate the needs of younger kids with the needs and desires of older kids.
Yeah.
And in actual fact, it was a wonderful fantasy buster for me because I had had on a pedestal the idyllic life of traveling in a motorhome or a camper van or something with the family around Australia for 12 months and homeschooling and, you know, all of that stuff. I looked at so many people that have done that and just thought, oh my God, that is just like, you know, amazing. And I had met all of these families because you meet so many people when you're camping.
Yeah.
Because it's like an instant family because everyone's doing the same thing. You already have an instant connection point.
To talk about. And
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I spoke to people everywhere and it was amazing how many people you saw again. There was this one old retired couple that we saw all the way up to Darwin. So also, though, I would say probably 70% of the travellers are grey nomads, so retired people. And then there was a sort of dabble of families and of single people doing the trip. So what Nick and I would sit and say is we saw loads of families with young kids who thought the best time to do this trip or travel in general, lots of them were doing the whole Australia thing, was before their kids were in school. Because there's no sporting commitments and there's no school commitments and, you know, all of that stuff. So we had Gwen, our youngest, was 5. And there is no fucking way I would do that with a kid younger than her.
Well, I mean, I just think it would be a nightmare to do it with anybody younger than 5.
Fucking nightmare.
Yeah.
The fucking nightmare. Nick and I would sit in campgrounds sometimes and just be like, oh my fucking God, that is so hard. That looks so hard. Of course, it's like camping. So babies that are screaming during the night, that are screaming when they wake up, kids and toddlers that are cracking it, parents that are exasperated because they want to do the hike and the kids don't want to walk.
Yeah.
The whole fucking thing.
And also the kids can't remember it when they're that young either.
Nightmare.
Like, they wouldn't have a memory of it that they can recall.
So Nick and I were like, no way would we do this trip with a kid under 5. No way. And not only do we have a kid under 5, but we also have Lola, who has a low tone condition that makes movement really hard. She also seems to have some sort of problem with metabolizing heat. So we're talking 40 plus temperatures, and the further north you get, the more and more humid it gets, to the point where the air is thick. Like you literally walk out and you're already wet, like thick. So there was lots of things that we would have done as 2 parents with our eldest 2. I think actually traveling with our teens was fucking ecstatic. If we had just had the teens, it would have been the most blissful holiday.
Yeah.
Because they're now like mini adults. They think like us, they act like us, they're responsible like us, they have input like us. You don't have to worry about them. They sort themselves out. Like traveling with teenagers,
so much more
epically wonderful.
Yeah.
But then we had this additional needs child and this 5-year-old who didn't want to do many things.
Yeah.
And who were bored and too hot and crying because they're bored and too hot, or crying because they don't want to walk. The only way that we got through, we didn't do several walks. So we didn't get to walk around Ullaru's base because Lola couldn't do it.
Yeah.
We couldn't go on segways because you have to be 12 plus.
Right.
We couldn't hire a bike because Lola can't ride a bike. And there's only these like toddler sort of attachment pieces.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we couldn't get around Ullaru's base. We could drive around as much as we could, and we did stop off points and walks. But the one guided walk that we did there was as much as probably she could handle. In the Olgas, we did the Valley of the Winds walk, and Lola cried the entire walk, like howled.
Oh,
This is like a 2-hour walk. Howled. We had retired couples, men in their 60s. Come on, love, I'm in my 60s. If I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Overtaking us because we had this child who just, I think it was more of a mental game for her in that one, but she literally then referred to it as the valley of suffering. Every walk she cried. There was this walk in Kakadu, and Kakadu was so hot. There was this Outlook walk in Kakadu that went past artworks that we really wanted to do. It was our last walk before we left Kakadu, that literally the only way we got up it was because I was in front of Lola with her hand like pulling her up this hill. Everything's huge, so the mountains are the rocks are more enormous than you could possibly even imagine. Same as Uluru, like it's way bigger than you even think it is. And so all of the walks are like up, like rock faces. And the only way we got up this walk was because I was pulling Lola from the front and Nick was pushing Lola from behind. And that's the only way we got to this top.
Yeah, wow.
Whereas our 5-year-old, who's active and has loads of energy, shit in those walks.
Yeah.
So had we not had Lola, we probably would have had a very different experience too. We probably would have done a lot of those walks that we didn't do. So there were heaps of challenges. Oh, and there was the frogs. Lola was terrified of frogs. I didn't even realize. I thought it would be a great idea at night. I just want to preface this with anyone who's, from overseas. So I had cousins back in the 80s, the cane toads, they still are, but the cane toads epidemic was a major destructive force within agricultural systems within Australia. And my cousins were in Queensland, and so every September holidays we would go and spend with them. And one of the fun things that we used to do in the 80s, and even in the 90s, early 90s, was go out at night for cane toad golf. So we would, smash the cane toads. And, back then it was kind of almost put forwards as like a community service because we needed to cull the
cane toad
population. And so anyway, we arrived further north by the time. Oh, and the other thing I would say is it's way more expensive than you think. So fuel was anywhere between $2 and $2.30 a litre.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Because we did over 4,000 Ks. So it's a lot.
Yeah.
Food is way more expensive. So if you're at your major Woolies that's in Alice Springs and Catherine, you're all right. But that's not the only shop you do. By the time we got to Mataranka, a loaf of bread was $9.
Wow.
So don't go thinking
your family, like
holiday.
Your family, like you go through a loaf of bread in a day.
Yeah, to make sandwiches for everyone, yeah. Because of the humidity and because we only had this tiny fridge, fresh food just went off. And I don't know if it's because of the food miles as well. By the time the food arrives in these more remote places, you've got 2 days. So you're not eating fresh, or if you are, there's heaps of fresh food I had to throw out. So more expensive. So I want everyone to also take it off of the pedestal that anything is cheap. It's not. For us to do a guided tour of any sort anywhere is a $500 investment for us for 6 people. To do a boat cruise, to do a tour, to do a camel ride, that's $500 easy a pop every time for us.
Yeah.
So you add on the cost of your holiday, cost of your motorhome. Now you're doing those tours, plus your mileage in gas or petrol, plus your food when you're now looking at $9 for a loaf of bread. This is not a cheap holiday. So also remove that off of a pedestal if that's you and you find yourself there. So anyway, we're at Matarenka and they have all of these frog warnings everywhere that you've got to close the lids of the washing machines and close the toilets because the frogs jump in them. So I thought, this is fantastic. Like, how great, such a great outback experience, you know. So I said, why don't we go out at night with torches and we'll look at all of the frogs, you know, which my other kids are very excited about. So we go out at night with torches and I'm retelling the stories of cane-toed golf and there is frogs everywhere. Like you literally, it's pitch black. You can't even imagine the blackness. Like it's so black by the time it goes black. So we've all got a torch and there's frogs just like leaping everywhere in every direction, in every place that you step. And now all of a sudden we're looking at this one frog and there's a snake and that was it. Lola like totally lost her shit.
Oh gosh.
So I didn't realize that it had a lasting effect on her because that was kind of at the start. Well, it's kind of the halfway point in our holiday. And the further north you get, the bigger the bugs get and the more frogs there are.
Jeez.
So she's now terrified. She has this frog phobia. She can't even handle the mention of a frog, the thought of a frog. We get to a swimming water hole and there's heaps of, so yes, there's loads of crocs up there, but because it's the end of dry season, the salties are the ones you've got to worry about. And the salties can only move into those pools when the wet season happens and it interconnects everything through a river system. In the dry system, it essentially dries up the river system so the salties can't flow through them. And it creates these pools in these, you know, canyons and whatnot. So you can swim in them. And at the start of every dry season, the, you know, park people go around and they put out traps and they capture any stray salty crocs and they check them and they deem them safe. So having said that, they say swim at your own risk, croc warnings everywhere.
Yeah.
So my son couldn't handle, we went in one of them was in this river system that I just thought was the most magnificent spring I had ever seen in my life, just in the middle of the forest. Like it's just the most ridiculous hot spring, crazy blue color you've ever seen. Yeah, sure. There was, you know, reeds and logs and fallen trees all on the floor of where you're swimming. And there's, you know, sacred lotus in mud, like floating mud pool things on the side. So you can't see anything. Probably there's freshwaters there. There's locals certainly tell you are, but the locals are still swimming in it. They just say you don't go at 6 a.m. So I'm thinking, well, that's fine. I'm cool with that risk. Yeah. Off we go. My son was not cool with that risk, so he was out of that experience. I'm going, okay. So Heath's got the croc thing and the reeds. If you can't see it, what's happening in the reeds, he's out. Lola's got the frog thing. Then we end up at, we're at Catherine and we're swimming in one of the waterfalls there and it's quite cloudy. It's like a green cloud, so you can't see underneath you. And my daughter Jade is completely freaking out. She's like, Heath and I are enjoying this lovely swim out to the waterfall. It's probably 1 kilometre. We're halfway out in the middle of this waterfall rock, you know, crevice. And Jade swears black and blue something touched her feet, completely freaks out. No. She's screaming and flailing everywhere. Her pool noodle goes flying off over to the edge and starts floating away on the current. And now she's standing here going, what am I going to do? Do I stay with you two? Because that's what you should do, because anyone who flies out in any type of horror movie, they're always the ones that get eaten first. But there's my life, you know, there's my floaty going that way. You know, so she's standing there trying to make this life and death decision. Heath and I are thinking this whole thing's fucking hilarious. In the meantime, there's this retired couple just swimming their way back, you know, from the waterfall. They're riding pool noodles like ponies. And this old woman, she's like, oh, love, it's okay. What's wrong? And Jade's like, I'm going to die. This is it. This is my last swim ever. Something's going to get me. You know, and she's like, oh, love, you just need to get your pool noodle and you just sit on it this way like a horse. It's much easier. And Jade's like, no, why am I doing that? Your feet are longer than my feet. You know, she's like, it's okay, love. I've swum all the way out and back. You're going to be fine. So Jade's dying in the middle of Florence Falls at the same time as Nick's swimming, and Gwen's with me as well. So Gwen's making this whole swim just like an absolute champ. So Jade's dying. Nick's swimming Lola back to shore because she's just realised this is green tree frog country and she will not be anywhere near green tree frogs. And he needs to leave her in a place where there's no trees because she's 100% sure frogs are like drop bears and they'll just drop out of the trees and they'll get her. So he's doing that with her. Or Jade's dying in the middle. You know, like there were so many things that put me out of my comfort zone
Yeah.
on this holiday, balanced by how exquisitely beautiful it was. All of the amazing sights that we saw, all of the hilarious stories and moments of connection that we had as a family that we'll have forever. I mean, in many ways, that's my favorite holiday, is a holiday where we do shit.
Yeah.
We go out and we have experiences together, because that's the stuff that you remember.
And
Also,
that's what creates those stories that get handed down. And
yeah, right.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. And there's so many funny stories from this trip, just so many. It's ridiculous. What I loved also was, at the end of that trip, I booked 3 days in a resort in Darwin. And at the time we were like, oh, I don't know, should we spend the money on that? Like, we could get way cheaper accommodation in town, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, nah, fuck it. I am going to be ready for just sitting by a pool by then. So let's pick the place that has the best pool. And I think my lucky stars, I will do that now forever. I will 100% do a motorhome holiday again. What was great about it was I never had to pack a lunch, a backpack, or a snack, because no matter where you are, you've got your whole home with you. So you can pull over on the side of the road. Oh, let's make lunch. You've just gone to a waterfall. You come back to your car park in your van for lunch. So I never had to pre-pack sandwiches and snacks and, all of that shit that's so annoying as a mum. Don't have to do. So 100% do it again. Would always end it with the resort. The resort at the end just was so great for all of us. Just total luxury. Don't have to work for anything. Everything is provided for you. That was amazing.
Total decompression time.
Total decompression time. But by day 3, I started to get bored. And I was sitting there going, oh, yeah, I couldn't do 2 weeks of this. Yeah. I actually really prefer the style of holiday that's experience. And then let's just end it with 3 days of Lux was great. So I'd 100% do that again. Every campground that we went to, I met, chatted to, and found an exasperated mother. So I also really loved that there was camaraderie everywhere. Like, I could see these women and see their struggle and hear their stories and just love them in it. Like this, it doesn't matter where you are, motherhood is hard, right? Like, there was exasperated parents everywhere I went. There were exasperated parents at the foot of Kings Canyon. There was a mum there who was in the midst of her child having an absolute tantrum, and she's like, fuck me, everything takes 3 times as long. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And there's this other mum who's at the playground of the campground going, I can't leave him for 2 seconds. I can't take my eyes off him because he'll go. That's exhausting. It's only me. At least back home I had family. Yeah, it is. It's exhausting because there is no downtime. You're not in a familiar place. You don't know that there's safe spaces. You are on as a parent every single moment of that holiday.
And that's why I also think too that holidays for mothers, like there's no relaxed time.
No, there's none.
Because you're on still. You don't holiday.
Yeah. And Gwen's needs were like next level. So she's hot, she's bothered, she's tired, she doesn't know where anything is. Mom, can you want, like, her needs were next level at the same time as mine were next level. Yeah. And then, by the time we get up north and the bugs are bigger, there was this one time I took her into one of the camp toilets and they're all kind of open roof because it's so hot. So they have like a roof over the top, but there's like a gap between the walls and the roof. And I walk her into this toilet and there is this grasshopper the size of your fucking palm sitting on the top of this, like, the flusher thing. And it is like yellow with these black stripes and legs like you would not believe. And we've opened the door and there's this thing sitting on the top of the toilet and it just like looked at us. And Gwen like went, oh no, like this. And I'm standing there going, it's going to be all right. I'm just going to shoo it. I'm trying to be brave. So I go step towards this thing to shoo it. And this thing is so big, it takes one jump and jumps over the wall and out of this thing. And from that moment onwards, Gwen would not go to the toilet on her own. I had to go to the toilet with her into every single cubicle from that moment forwards.
Oh, gosh.
So parenting is much higher needs.
Yes. Yeah. And the challenge being they're in that new situation, but you've first got to navigate yourself in that situation. And then what you've got is two people activated.
Yeah. So Jade activated in any hole she can't see the bottom of. Oh, and then we swam in this other one that had these huge black fish in it. And they were like sucking, because we all had these sores on our shins from hitting ourselves different places and on rocks and things. So the fish wanted to eat the scabs off of the skin.
Gross. Oh.
I thought this whole experience was quite wonderful. None of my kids did. So they all hated something somewhere. They all hated it somewhere. Lola was 100% convinced she was dying every single day, wouldn't do any one of the walks without it being absolute fucking surgery. So you can imagine how I'm trying to move her through all of that and find interesting things, finding love hearts everywhere on our walk, collecting stones or things that trying to bring it back to her value system and, balancing that between, and fuck me, can it just be easy for once?
Yeah.
So, and no one's sleeping as well. So yes, it was exquisitely beautiful and wonderful. Yeah, I would 100% do a motorhome trip again. But it certainly wasn't time off or more easeful than me living my day-to-day life. Oh, and in the middle of all of that, I left here sick. I got my period in the middle. I normally use a menstrual cup and period undies, and so does my daughter. So I have a menstruating daughter. She uses period undies too. I didn't want to be dealing with washing. Can't be dealing with washing like that when you're not necessarily around amenities.
Yeah.
So I had taken pads, and I haven't used commercial pads in so many years I couldn't even tell you. And I had a horrific period. And I was I had moments where we were out on something and I had flooded and forgotten to take them with me because I'm not used to taking them with me.
Yeah,
and then my daughter gets her period and we're at a swimming hole and she won't go in the swimming hole because she hasn't ever used a tampon and doesn't want to get into her bathers because she's got her period. So now in the side of the road on the fucking car park in the motorhome, I'm working my daughter's nervous system through using a tampon, and does she want to, and can she try, and how to
oh wow, yeah,
so much fucking shit.
That you don't see in the perfect photos on Instagram.
No, and
it's so good to deconstruct.
Yes. So I just want to say, yeah, every one of those photos is true. It was exquisitely beautiful. We totally bonded as a family, 100%, built relationships, built memories. We've come back stronger together. But does that mean that it was without challenge, that my nervous system wasn't activated as fuck, that I didn't have to ground the fucking shit out of myself, that I didn't have to build my capacity and my spaciousness and my self-responsibility? No, all of those things upped the ante. Everything was hypercolor. The struggle was hypercolor. The beauty was hypercolor. They weren't separated experiences.
It's such a great way to explain it. That when you're heightening one, you're also heightening the other. Yeah. And that sometimes holidays with family can feel like you need a holiday from your holiday.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
then the trip home.
There's the settling into home.
Totally. Well, the trip home was overnight. So Darwin only has one flight out a night that's at 1:30 in the morning Darwin time, which is 2:30 in the morning Melbourne time. So we then flew through the night without, Nick and I didn't really sleep. The little kids a couple of hours. So we've lost a whole night's sleep. Everyone's ratty, shitty, all of the stuff. Kind of lose that day. Nick's back at work the next day. I'm back at work and organising kids and school the day after that. And then the day after that, we get these crazy floods in Melbourne and my whole studio floods. And Nick and I are now dealing with flooding and trying to, it is just, it has definitely been an up the ante on nervous system regulation. Yet through it all, I think Nick and I are well practiced enough at handling each other and tapping out when one person's we would tag team with Lola in particular while we were away and on a walk. Yeah. Because neither one of us could sustain emotional regulation with her for the entirety of that walk that everyone else was doing, because we wanted to see the 60,000-year-old artwork that we had come there for. And all of that stuff. But neither Nick or I could manage a whole trip, a whole walk with her with our own nervous systems. We literally, I would listen for his heightenedness and just say, I got it, you go. And he would listen. We literally tag teamed Lola for most of that trip. So out of all of that experience, I would say definitely do it, because it was extraordinarily, I have never seen such beauty as the Northern Territory. The motorhome was fantastic. Of course, you can't do anything that's not on sealed roads, so you might want to take that into consideration, but would 100% do it again. But I would say to you, be prepared for the fact that it doesn't mean more ease. You're not taking a holiday from yourself. It just puts a spotlight on anything that's already there.
And do you think that you've already knew that that was going to happen going into it, or was it the great leveler? Because some people, for them, that's a really leveling realization, because they might think, oh, great, I get to holiday from all of the stuff. Or did you kind of already know that?
Look, I would say that in previous, had we not had this 3 years of, cancel, rebook, cancel, rebook, cancel, rebook, and had we not had 2 years of lockdown in Melbourne, and if you were not in Melbourne, you don't know what that was like, is that actually my nervous system was incredibly well practiced.
Yeah.
So where that might spin someone else completely, any one of those things, let alone them combined, might spin someone else off completely, I actually was practiced enough, and Nick and I have a good enough relationship that we can always find humour. Oh, and there was another one. The fucking toilet in the, well, this will give you an example of that. We had this overnight toilet, in the camper van, and we were very clear it's only for wees and it's only for overnight. And we had realised that the capacity that it holds is about 3 nights for us with 6 people. And then we need to take it to the dump station. Well, we were in Catherine Gorge, and Catherine Gorge in the national park had no dump station. You had to drive all the way back into town, which was like an hour and a half, 2 hour drive. And we weren't doing that. So we thought, okay, we'll make it 4 nights and we'll dump it when we come back into Catherine. Well, we didn't make it 4 nights, and the toilet exploded everywhere, all over everything.
I was going to say,
so we literally were cleaning piss up from everything. So Nick and I are at the fucking dump station, and it's, it was just one of those moments where we're standing there, and we're literally cleaning piss. And I said to Nick, my God, because this is kind of a regular thing in our parenting, I go, just when you think parenting can't get any grosser. And he looked at me and he was like, well, Jules, I've been pooed on in the face. And I was like, yeah, I've been vomited on in the mouth. You're right, this isn't as gross. And so we just got on with a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Because you don't realize how gross parenting is, right? Parenting is full of so many gross moments you never thought that you'd ever have to deal with in your life. Well, here we are just dealing with another one of those gross moments. So we always find a way to find humor in the shit storm. And I think that makes it easier.
It kind of helps you just find that little bit more room that you didn't have before.
Yeah.
It's just, there's an opening that can happen there for I'm a bit more resourced now.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I hope that takes, if just in case anyone was sitting there, like I know I would have, 4 years ago when I was sure we couldn't afford a holiday, and that was somehow a life that I couldn't live or have, that I was sure that was for better people who had better experiences than me, just in case you're there. Then I really want you to know it really isn't all that. It's actually, you would have a better time creating more potent experiences closer to home than you would being out of your comfort zone and doing that shit. And if you're doing that shit and there's people posting amazing stuff, I have no doubt the amazing stuff happens. But just remember in your back of your head, so is the super shit stuff.
Yeah. That it's always balanced.
Always.
Yeah.
Always. And without.
And the beautiful reminder of that is that it helps you live your life instead of trying to, wish you were living someone else's, which is just so beautiful.
Yes.
Come back into connection with yourself and go, no.
Yes.
I'm seeing this part of that person's life. There's also a whole other side I'm not seeing. So how can I connect back to me?
Exactly. And so that's what we really hope you get out of this, was FOMO isn't a thing when you can, 1, balance the polarizations and projections outside of you, and 2, bring your experience out of a pit and balance that to the same extent.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about rustling and noises right now, because it has been such an epic podcast. I now have my 3-year-old sitting on my lap, so that's how it has to roll sometimes.
That is how we roll. So what have you got going on in the world, and how do we connect with you, Bridgie?
Yes, connect with me at bridgetwood.life, where all things are reimagining motherhood. So it's the community for the woman who's looking for a space to really feel held and seen and supported as she embarks on a conscious parenting or practices conscious parenting, as well as really expanding her whole self. And so we're doing all things creating spaciousness. So what does it look like to live a life of really intentional parenting and motherhood and self-growth when it feels really full and when it feels like you can't find that room, how to create that, even when, there's a whole lot of shit going on. So find out more at bridgetwood.life. And you, Jules?
Is the Queen School Journey within Honey Club. So when you sign up, it's trusting me to take you on 12 months of micro integrations that change your life and how you love and your relationship. And you can find out more at julietenner.love.
Beautiful. Remember to nourish the woman to rock the family.
And we'll see you next week when we continue to peel back the layers on your mothering journey.
Thank you so much for listening. We literally couldn't do this without you. Please share this podcast with anyone you think it would be medicine for.
If you desire to integrate your learnings practically and supportively into your life, then head on over to bridgetwood.life or julietenner.love to go deeper.
And if you feel like giving back a little to this free content, please rate us on iTunes or Facebook, all of which helps the podcast reach more mamas who need this type of tonic for the soul.